right, don't worry, my brother. This is the first Monday of the 11th month, year 2017. Gradually, year 2017, packing its loads. We just pray that God, in His infinite mercies, will continue to favor us. Welcome. It's still the Daybreak Show on Rock City 101.9 FM here in the city of Abeokuta. This is the voice of the people. Citizens Forum. I am Dele Ayodo.
And I am Tobi Joseph. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh yes, this morning, apart from corruption, one other key problem that has been identified almost generally as the problem of this country, one of the hindrances we've had in moving this country forward 57 years after independence, or 19 straight years, sorry, is it 19 or 18? 18 straight years of democracy in the country, and yet you are still struggling to find a leader that will be in the class of the likes of Mandela, was this Chinese man, and the Singapore Lee Kuan Yew, and other old national leaders across the globe. Somebody who will have that magic wand, who will have the so-called political will, who will have that competence and integrity to change things around magically, and then a majority of Nigerians will begin to hail him and say, yes, we have him. Well, we'll not be able to have that. We've had several elections, there have been several coups, and there have been several change of leaders in this country, yet we are still looking for that one magical leader. Well, interestingly, this is the fact, since 1960 Tobi till date, either the military or politicians, every leader that has even come forward that we have accepted, we have voted for in this country, belong to one of the two major religions in the country. No atheist has come forward, placed himself forward for us to vote for, or has come forward to lead us as a country. Many of them have gone to kneel down in the presence of God. Yes, I should say it. Or is it in the presence of Jews? And seek blessings and seek prayers. And of course, sometimes some of them have also been endorsed by these acclaimed religious leaders. Mind me, we are not talking religion this morning, but we are looking at faith in our leaders and leadership with faith. Till today, we are still in search. Again, the storm is gathering, Tobi. People are coming forward. Names are being pushed forward, and all of them, again, belong to one group or the other. It is in fact one I've actually said God has endorsed him. Nobody will change it, that it is a prophecy from God. God said he is the next president. I'm not saying he's not or he cannot, but how did we get to this level?
Well, Dele, you've made a very interesting intro as regards the topic we are discussing this morning, because if you look at it critically, just like you said, it's either the person is a Christian or a Muslim. Talking about those who have actually ruled this country. Some of them may have some kind of traditionalist background, or mien, as it were. But instead that we're going to find somebody who will say, no, I don't even believe in God at all. I'm an atheist. But which role would you say that God is actually playing when it comes to the leadership of this great country in Nigeria? Which role do you think that God is supposed to play, or religion is supposed to play, or faith, as Dele put it? Faith in what sense? Is it the type of faith that Nigerians are also supposed to have in their leaders? Are they also demonstrating that type of faith they have, or that the people reposing them, talking about the faith they're supposed to have in God, performing their duties faithfully also, as it were? Well, I think just like Dele touched on someone who has actually said that God has endorsed him for that position, or as it were, God has there is a prophecy that has gone before him that he will be the duly elected president of Nigeria. Don't forget, Pastor Chris Okotie once actually
Then we
told
are
us
looking at
this.
all of them. Yes, he's also
I,
once
I
said
just
that.
remember that Pastor
Yes,
Okotie
yes,
actually said this
twice,
twice.
2003, 2007.
So I would like to ask, Dele, is it that God changes his mind?
Well, we have somebody who can tell us if it is true God changed his mind or just God just decided not to have a hand in choosing who will lead this country. Again, we are not talking religion. With due respect to every religious belief and faith, and of course to God the Almighty. Recently, in a couple of days ago, one of the religious leaders, Nashafa, the Secretary General of the Christian Association of Nigeria, the major body representing Christians in the country, Reverend Asaki, came out to say, yes, uh, one of the aspirants is actually duly qualified and will be supported by Christians to become the president. Well, the Christian Association that come out to say we have no hand in that. He has the right to speak for himself. The man has never said he did not say so. So it is taken as if he was speaking for himself.
And not
for Khan, and again he has the right. But for such a statement to come out from such a highly placed religious leader, then we should look at it. Not again, I'm emphasizing this, please take note of it. We are not crucifying anybody for whatever position we are standing. But aptly, we are looking at it from a social political angle on solving the problem of this country. And we have somebody, one of the religious leaders around us here, to do justice to that. He is the Secretary General, Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, the one we call PFN, Ogun State Branch, Reverend Olubunmi Banwo. Good morning and welcome to the Daybreak Show.
Good morning and good morning to all the hearers out there.
Reverend Banwo, let's go straight to it. Would you say that God is tired of Nigeria and Nigerians?
No, nothing like that. God is never tired. He accepts full responsibilities for all of humanity's demand or challenges. When any time we come across changes or challenges, it can only be with man, not with God. The prophetic agenda of God standeth sure. He knows the end before the beginning. Now, taking our time to really understand his mind on issues, just the problem of humanity. And no matter how good, how perfect we are, God is still God.
Do you know why I'm asking that question? I'm sure you have an idea because I know God cannot be tired of man's affairs, but at the same time, Nigerians are really wondering why we've been so unlucky when it comes to leadership, why we've been so unlucky when it comes to dividends of democracy, of good governance, of leaders who really have the fear of God and actually deliver service to the people. Why has this eluded Nigerians?
Well, the problem of leadership is just purely human, because most of the time we allow our individual desires to kind of exert on what happens. Sometimes we don't really go before the Lord to say, before God to say, what are you saying on this matter? For instance, in choice of leaders, who do you really have in mind? It's one thing to ask God, who do you have in mind? It's another thing to say, Lord, we are committing this to your hand. You are committing this to your hand. You see, God is not as much as he's interested in giving us our desire. He doesn't seem to go beyond that. But what we ask for is what he gives. Ask and ye shall receive. It's what we ask, we receive. But most of the time, we don't really ask him. We only try to lord a choice over him. And that may not work because he has his own plan fully made up ahead of us getting there. He has always been there ahead of us.
There's something confusing here, Reverend Banwo, from your position. We've seen pictures, we read stories. In actual fact, there's no time we will have an election that those who seek to be our leader do not go forth to seek the eye and favor of God. Like I said, they kneel down in the presence of leaders like you, just leaders, and we've been told that they received the blessing. They were prayed for. These are facts we have, and yet we are still here. Is it that they are the ones deceiving us, or you, the religious leaders, are the ones who have not done what should have been done?
Now, again, I say that it is what we ask we receive. Most of the time, those that kneel down before men of God to be prayed for, it's just like anyone can come before servants of God to be prayed for. Most of the time, we have not really had it that they come in such instance to ask, please, I am interested in so and so office or position. What is the law saying? In that wise, the man of God will be on a level ground, on a good ground, to seek the face of God on his behalf and tell him what the Lord has said, even if God has said anything. But I know that most of the time, people come to be prayed for. And the man of God has a duty to pray for as many as has come to be prayed for. That does not endorse him. That does not prove that God has endorsed him. That does not, in fact, in any way connote acceptance, divine acceptance. You are trying to get what I'm saying. Most of the time, it's just a matter of somebody coming to kneel down. Please pray for me. I'm going for so office. And
But we heard of fasting and prayer, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah,
anybody can.
Fasting and prayer is supposed to be the supplication of the person you put forward to God.
All right.
To cleanse yourself.
Okay. If the person coming to ask for prayer, or the person coming to kneel down before a servant of God, has come to seek to know what God is saying concerning his desire or his ambition, the man of God can take time. He won't be in haste. He will take time. Okay, you go on so days fasting, or I'll be fasting on your behalf. Okay, see me so time, within which you will have sought the face of God to know what God is actually saying. But most of the time, it's not a matter of coming to seek to know the heart of God concerning that desire or ambition. It's just a matter of coming to be prayed for. And anyone that comes before any servant of God, he has no right to refuse him.
Refuse prayer. Okay, what then should be the role of our religious leaders in the emergence of these political leaders? What should be the role?
It is unfortunate that because what you said at the beginning is a big challenge to us, to both faith, or major faith, both the Christian faith and Islamic faith, that over the years, just occurred to me also that it has always been either a Muslim or a Christian, and we have never really got it. Something is wrong somewhere. Not every Titus, not every Matthew is a Christian, is a believer. We make that mistake. Many are so nominal, hardly better than atheists.
But why don't you leaders identify such Matthews and Titus?
That is why the body advocates that the system or the structures that be, or the power that be, or the structure, the system, whichever, the government, should learn to relate with the body of Christ, or the body of whichever of the faiths.
How do we know the body of Christ as it stands?
For instance, CAN is a recognized official body.
It is the same CAN that one of the leaders had just endorsed a candidate.
Now, personal view,
the other side are disapproving of the candidate.
I understand that. Personal view should be clearly separated from official stand. He said that from his personal viewpoint.
Okay,
CAN as a body has never taken a stand.
No, let's go beyond the current one from Asake. When Ayodo was CAN president, we know CAN was almost a political group coming out as an official body to endorse, to campaign, and support the then administration. So how then do you think Nigerians or Christians, whatever faith, will trust or rely on that group that you are talking about?
Now, CAN is not a political group. It's a body umbrella group of all Christians. You know that all blocks, all denominational blocks that make up CAN, they are the umbrella body of the Christians in the country, the Christian and the custodian of the Christian faith. So it's, but it has not really happened that CAN, it's not common for you to see CAN taking a stand and say, this is our candidate.
Well, this happened. This is not insinuation. This happened when Orisha was CAN president.
Yeah, he
officially took CAN into politics then.
Oh, so people misread the situation. He took his own stand. CAN never took a stand. CAN never took a stand. We believe that CAN is like a big father with many children. The good, the bad, the ugly.
Okay, now...
Sorry, Tobi, it's getting interesting. Reverend Banwo, fine, let's say CAN never took a candidate. Yeah. Would it have been wrong if CAN, for instance, Tobi comes up to say he wants to be local government chairman or whatever it is, and CAN as a body was sure of Tobi's credibility and would it have been wrong for CAN to officially say, okay, that is the man you should vote for? CAN did so with Yemi Osinbajo in 2015, officially endorsed him. So
there's nothing wrong. That is actually the ideal thing. Why I say it is the ideal thing is the church, we have shied away from the truth, from certain truths along this line for many years, trying to believe that it is wrong for Christians. It's a proof of sliding or loss of faith and this and that for Christians to be involved in politics. But now we are enlightening our people better to know that there is no biblical crime in Christian officially getting involved in politics, because it is those that are there that will handle whatever they handle there. So I think the whole thing should begin with sensitizing our people, affecting their mindset to know that their church, after all, is not against their participation, involvement, anyhow we look at it.
Now, from what Dele just said, the endorsement of Pastor Professor Yemi Osinbajo in 2015, and this new endorsement of your Faroshe by Reverend Musa Saki seems to show a pattern that CAN is usually interested or is endorsing only candidates who are Christians. Is that the right thing to do? Should the faith of a leader or a Nigerian matter who CAN endorses, or who Nigerian should actually vote for?
Well, there's some kind of challenge there. When in 2015, the presidential candidate that invariably won the election is a Muslim, and yet the vice of Osinbajo as a Christian. Now, if we all our concern was all about Christian all the time without any regard, any respect for the other religion, the Muslims, we wouldn't probably go, many Christians wouldn't probably go with Osinbajo because of Buhari. We know in Nigeria the vice hardly has any power. He shares the same office with the president, and whatever he desires, wants him to do is what he does. He doesn't go beyond that. And we know that the vice is never the substantive president. But all the same, knowing that President Buhari was, that time a Muslim, the Christians still went ahead. So the thought of saying why should Christian go only for Christian may not really arise. But then there's still another thing, the trust value, the trust factor is still to be considered. The Bible has clear stand on leadership, and anyone that goes through the body can easily be monitored, controlled, better than the one that got there and doesn't feel responsible to any particular body. If Can, for instance, says, okay, this is our candidate for social office, that fellow knows that he's responsible to that body. He can't misbehave. Just like you have the so-called godfathers in secularism, that they don't joke with their godfathers. Now, if similar thing is made to happen when it comes to choice and support for candidates in politics on certain offices, we might probably get better results. But most of the time, what you discover is that people mistake every Titus, every Michael, every Daniel for Christians, the new Christians, for believers.
I go back to that question, Reverend Banwo. What should religious leaders do
Religious
in
leaders
helping
have a
Nigerians
duty.
to pick their
Right.
political leader?
Yeah. Religious leaders have a clear duty to seek the face of God in the unfolding political events. Lord, what is your mind? What is your mind? What are you saying? It is what God says that invariably rules the day. God can't make a mistake, and is not a variable. It doesn't change. He can't make a mistake. He knows, like a good manufacturer, the one that manufactured man, the human race. He knows the end. You know, every manufacturer knows the end before he commences production. God knows the end of any situation before the beginning. The first duty of religious leader is to seek the face of the Lord, to know the mind of God. When that is secured, we can launch out and say, yes, this is thus saith the Lord. This is the choice of God. If nothing has gone wrong to that level, we will get it right.
So if it is true, as asserted by many people, that we've not had good political leaders, will you then say religious leaders have failed then?
Well, I won't say they have failed. Sincerely, they have not, because the problem is not with them, because most of the time the people coming up are, like I said at the beginning, most of them, 99.99% of them, never aspire to seek the face of God.
So that's where I have the problem. Why have these religious leaders, again, like we said, every leader from the council chairman to the president that we have belong to a religious group? So why can't this religious group come out before they are elected? No, this Matthew that is coming in is not a true Matthew. This Muhammad that is presenting himself never pray one time a day, not to talk of 5 times. So we are disowning him. It has never happened.
You know,
So why have we?
The human factor is always there. The sentiment factor is always there. People don't want to be quoted as being responsible for somebody's failure and say, he's the one. What we want to do, what the body is working on, is to get to a level where we as a body of believers, as representative of body of believers, we can seek the face of God, get it right with God, and boldly be able to come out and say, this is what God wants. This is what God says. Jacob I have loved, Esau I have rejected.
Good. From that one, there are more than 2, 3, 4 stories in how kings emerged in the Bible, and I know that is it Elijah or Elisha? I always mistaken. I think it's Elisha. We're never afraid to go to any king, even if or after they were the one who anointed him, and go back to that same king and say it is over. So doing thing you have heard and you have been rejected. There are several stories like that in the Bible. We also have stories where 2 or 3 people will be presented. And the problem is out of these 3, I have not seen the king there. Go and look for so for another person.
Yeah.
So if the new religious leaders, prophets, are afraid that we just use the word, or have not been doing that, then should we also say that many of the prophets, religious leaders that we have, are also fake?
Well, things are changing, and I believe that this time around God will help us to get it right. Number one, I said things are changing because in the past, the involvement of core Christians in politics has not been as aggressive as to date. And then even the leadership within the body too is another thing. In the time of Archbishop Idahosa, what you are saying may not be a problem, because the late Archbishop Idahosa can face anybody. There was a time in Benin that some candidates were being uh, raised here and there, and he came out and said, look, you mentioned, I don't want to mention name now, you can't be the governor. He stood up against that, and he declared who will be the governor. This is what God said to me. And at the end of the day, the man won. The man, he said, won. To God be the glory. But let me tell you, in days of assassination, kidnap,
Don't we have assassination in the days of the Hausa?
that time it wasn't as bad.
Anthony Olubunmi Okoje is still alive. Don't we have
Yeah. Now,
assassinations?
for Archbishop Olubunmi Okoje is quite old now. You remember when he was still strong. He was not afraid of anybody. But we don't have such talking leaders as much as those days.
And what would you say is responsible for that? Why are the prophets of today
Not talking.
not speaking truth to power?
And not that they have not been speaking truth. The truth is that they have just tried to constrain themselves to where they are. For instance, if somebody approaches me for help or assistance, I am constrained. I mean, I have the sense of responsibility to offer as much as I can. But if there's no approach, and maybe I'm just hearing on pages of news, reading on pages of newspaper or hearing on the radio, this and that, I may not want to go beyond my. But then, as I said, things are changing. What we expect in the unfolding event is that religious bodies, be it the Christian faith or the Muslim faith, religious leaders, religious bodies should accept full responsibility for the fault of the past, and accepting responsibility to take a stand in the now, that we do not fall into the errors of the past, in seeking the face of God and declaring. Trump, with all prediction and all public opinion and this and that, everything favored Clinton. None of them favored Trump. But Trump won. Now the secret is that the church leaders called Trump and told him, because of certain stand he took, the body of the leaders, the Christian leaders there, called him, and they prayed
For him.
They prayed for him, and he won. No, we will get there. We'll get there. I believe we'll get there.
Okay, let us come to the people, because oftentimes we get carried away when we cast aspersions on our leaders and then blame them for every bad thing that is happening in Buyoloni. It is Buhari that is the problem. When there is blood drainage at Bodiolude, it is Buhari, and or Amusun that is the problem of Sharpadi. You see, now let us come to the people. Why are we a very religious country, but at the same time, our hearts are so far from the things of God? We behave as if we are Satan himself. Why is that so difficult for us to imbibe what we learn and teach at the church and at the mosque and at the various religious houses?
You see, the average Nigerian believer is a good hearer, but bad doer. Even in the churches, you know that. Even in the churches. But then, like I said, the human factor, the sentiment factor is what to really deal with. But I think leaders should accept the responsibility of leadership. Speak forthrightly when they should speak. Hold their peace when they should hold their peace. And not probably attempt to bring personal sentiment into assessing the performance of whatever. Me, I hate to blame people for anything, but I know that generally in Nigeria we have problem with structures. We have problem with structures. We fail in putting structures in place that will handle issues. We celebrate personal momentary performance. All this talk about EFCC, all this talk about this, it is Mago, it is this one, it is that one. You see, in America, when you study the system there, no matter how, there are institutionalized structures within to hold forth any day, any time, under any administration. And they know the right thing to do, and they are not pushed, they are not so much influenced by whoever is holding the office. They have their duty in the office they are, and they do that with all sincerity. And in case they even fail to, there are still a lot of checks and balances in the system. In Nigeria, there's nothing like that, no break, no jam. Everybody does what he like. Can you see when you see some working a parastatal, head of parastatal, saying that he's not responsible to the overseeing minister and this and that? And that's just the kind of thing. It's all the human factor, the sentiment factor, the failure of leadership in coming up with institutionalized structure that we perform, that we monitor, that we see to it that this thing is done and get the right results. But sometimes maybe, like John Maxwell said, everything rises and falls with it. God will give us just such a visionary leader that knows what he wants and is determined to get there, no matter the cost.
Reverend Banwo, that is where the issue is. Even if, just like is it Baba Wasono that said it, that even if Jesus Christ comes to lead Nigeria, Nigerians will still be who they are and we still have problems. It is not enough that God gives us that visionary leader, that disciplined leader, man of integrity, who has the fear of God. Is it that leader that will make another man, Mr. Taju, from driving against traffic on Ashewo Road? Is it that leader that will stop an officer from collecting bribe, where a lot of things can be prevented from that bribe that he has collected? So how do we begin to change the mindset, the perception, the psyche of Nigeria, to move away from corrupt tendencies, to move away from impunity, from indiscipline and lawlessness? Because that is the path to change itself.
All right. We come again to the real problem. See, within our own polity, within the polity here, there is no check and the required balances. No matter how good a constitution is, if there are no institutionalized checks and balances, people will still derail. When people think they can do anything and get away with it, without any harm. There's no specific harm that knows this is our responsibility to monitor this. Like you said, the president won't come down from Aso Rock to come and monitor traffic flow here or breach of traffic along Ashero Road here. But we should have.
Well, Reverend Banwo, let me be more blunt and rephrase my question.
Okay.
If when there is a failure of political, economic, and social leadership,
Okay.
you tend to look to the right where you have the religious leadership. All right, and that is where you fall to. So if the social leaders, the economic leaders, the political leaders have failed in reforming the society and changing the mindset of our people, the religious leaders should be able to do so. Would you say that you religious leaders have failed in that regard in changing the attitude and mindset of the Nigerians?
Well, it's not easy for an ordinary man to accept such failure, to accept that. But then, whether we accept it or not, the facts are there on the ground. Like Dele said, it has always been either our leaders have always come out of either Muslim side or Christian side. So if it has not worked hitherto, it just means that either or the two this thing we have failed. So we can accept it at that. But then the thing is, there are so many lawlessness, so much lawlessness, lack of checks and balances within the system. Maybe that's the reason why some people are calling for restructuring, fine-tuning of the constitution or things like that. If we are really going to be practical, if we are really going to be sincere, if we are really going to really trust God to help us, there are still a lot to be done on the working papers called constitution that the country is operating.
One more question before the break. Look at all the leaders we've had. I'm sure you are old enough to access these people. You will have read books that will let you be able to access them. At the national level, we've had about 12 states uncountable, local government uncountable. Is it that we've never had any of them that has the fear of God?
Practically, somebody said it's like, now I've also preached in that area, that it's like there is a kind of anti-good governance, anti-good leadership demon in our various political offices. Many, and you bear me witness, many, when they aspire, when they are just going into office, you have so much hope on them, and you place so much premium on them that there will be a change. But no sooner than they get there,
they become a change.
They become another.
All right, we won't be changing the time. And what our interest it is, we have to take this break to allow the National News attend to come up. After that, we'll still have with us the Secretary General of the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, PFN Ogun State, Reverend Olubunmi Banwo, here with us. We are looking at the question of leadership and trying to find an answer to the question, what should our religious leaders do? What must they do to enable this country produce a good, competent leader with a fear of God? We'll be back after the 10 o'clock news. Thank you for still being there. Yes, it's the Daybreak Show on Rock City 101.9 FM in the city of Abeokuta. Citizens Forum this morning in pursuit of good leadership in the country. Yes, there's no time better than now to discuss this question. Apart from corruption, the other problem identified in the country is the absence of a competent leader. So far, at all levels, we are not just looking at the federal, state, local government, even community leaders are all involved in what we are looking at. And of course, the question of what should our religious leaders do? What must they do to give us this desired good leaders that we are looking for? Well, it's a fact that till today, those who have ruled us at all levels have professed either the Islamic faith or the Christian faith. No atheists have been given the opportunity to do so. Even the old swan, I know people have said, let us have the third opportunity or even discard the two. But you're either swearing in, even in the public service, via the Quran or the Bible, regarded as the two holy books. And yet, it has not taken us to the El Dorado we dream for. All right, we have with us the Secretary General of the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, a big arm of the Christian Association of Nigeria, that's CAN. He is Reverend Olubunmi Banwo. We'll straight on open the telephone lines for you to ask questions about what you've heard him talked about. Of course, he just told us not all Matthew and Titus that you see flaunting the Bible around should be regarded as Christians. He also agreed that the religious leaders also failed in some area in addressing this issue. All right, Reverend Banwo, we'll take questions, comments from you. 0809 8687344. Do people really do what Kasali mentioned, itemizing what, and then when they come back, you use that as a scorecard?
Well, that is quite good. That's quite comely. But you have limited control over a leader that you are not instrumental to his ascension to power. They themselves don't even think they are responsible to you because they believe. Let me tell you a story, a case of a very recent case. Somebody went to a senior, one of our leaders in the body, and he was telling him, he was trying to let him know some certain things, and the aspirant told him, said, look, you are not part of the people we want, or the part of the people, the kind of people we go to or rely on or may rely on. And why? He said, look, if we give you any money now, if we give you 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, you, with all that, you may still not follow us. You may still not give us anything. But there are people that with just 1,000 naira, with just ordinary 5,000 naira, they will deliver what we want. So you are not the kind of people we want to get to power. So the situation is, I don't know, but I believe that there is still a lot to be done. And this should begin with where the religious leaders coming now is in inculcating in our members or bringing it forth straight face to face with aspirants that approach us for whatever. Look, what I know is what a man doesn't have, he cannot give. Any faith that does not teach sound doctrine of fear of God is not worth it. Because the fear of God is it that marks out any faith that is linked with God. The fear of God. If we all have that understanding, that look, this thing I'm doing, is God going to be happy with it? Is God going to say, well done, at the end? Knowing that at the end of the day of reckoning also will come for him to give account to God. These leaders are accountable to God. But if we are able to build on our own part as leaders, religious leaders, if on our own part we are able to inculcate the fear of God factor into our members, because since they are all coming from the membership of the church, if they are able to carry that, it's just like our own children. Whatever you fail to give to them when they are still with you under your roof, when they go out, it's what you give them they reflect. When they go out, a time will come when you will not be there with them all the time. When your children go to university, you won't be there with them. The kind of clothes they wear, the kind of this and that they do, whatever, it is what they take out of the job. I think we leaders should zero in on that. Hammer it, or any of our members, we try to encourage them now to go, if you have a leading to go into politics, but do all you must do with the fear of God. Understand the virtue of righteousness, doing the right thing according to the dictate of the word of God. God will never support anything outside his word. So if you are going to get there to do this and that, and you think you are trusting in your own power, you are just trusting in the power that got you there, you don't believe you are responsible, it's God that got you there, it's not likely that we see much of the fear of God. But if you know that it is God that got you there, because I know that nobody really gets to any position at that level
without the knowledge
of God. But many are not ruling in the fear of God. They get there and they are on their own.
All right, let's quickly do justice to the messages on tweets. Pius from Shaja says, as for me, I'm highly disappointed in some of our clergymen. They can't speak the truth because most of them do go to Abuja seeking for money and contract. Reverend, can any clergyman in Nigeria be so bold like John the Baptist, who went to King Herod? That's a question for you. The major cause of corruption is the fear of tomorrow. If government can turn a new leaf towards pension restructuring, the country will likely produce a good and competent leader. Tunde from Abeokuta sent in that. Abdurrashid Okela says, I'm disturbed and worried with the way and where our people are talking religion to, both Muslims and Christians. Churches, mosques increase in size daily, but nothing to show for it. All we hear and preach now are prosperity, wealth, and breakthrough. While the crime rate increases everywhere, anywhere, some are even funny of wrong prophecy, saying what they did not see, all in the name of money. God bless Nigeria, myself, and Rock City. That's Abdurrashid Okela. Taiwo from Ashura says, please, so far the leadership used double standard on issues. We will continue to have exponential backwardness. All right, Taiwo from Ashura. Religion is the major problem of Nigeria. Nigerian leaders are only fanatically religious, but they don't have the fear of God. The destiny of this nation is not in the hands of any religious leader, but the Nigerians to resist any unpatriotic politician. The Nigerians should resolve not to allow the politician to use them to actualize their desires. Can PFN have failed Christians, let alone the entire nation? The ball is in our court. Thank you. Kenny Additional from Ashiro sent in that. Evangelist Oriola Kemi from Adigbe says, my question to our guest is one. If Jesus said his kingdom is not of this world, don't you see that any good Christian who wants to be a political leader cannot serve two masters? Devil took Jesus to the top of the mountain to tell him to bow and he will give him the worldly power. Jesus refused. 2. What can we do to stop this endless enmity between Christians and Muslims? Don't we remember that we both came from Abraham? It's a pity as many lives have gone for the silent religious war. Okay. Good morning, Reverend. Are you surprised that we've not had people sensitive leadership for a long time in this country? What we have is very good church and mosque attendants without the fear of angels and monarchies of God to even think of God himself. The traditionalists are fearful of the anger of what they believe in than those of the two major faiths. Don't you think so? Kade from Ramdan sent him that. IK from Ifo says, worthy is the lamb. You can take a cow to a river, but you can't force it to drink water. So what are we talking about? What roles did we expect the church that is in a troubled world to play in politics than to pray and spread the gospel, which they are doing day and night? Our leaders know the right thing to do, but refuse to do it. Then why are we blaming the church? I believe if anybody wants to hold any public office, they should swear with Ogun, Shango, Obatala, etc. They will sit tight and sit right when they get there. Thanks. Pius from Shaja sent in that message. Taiwo from Ashiro says, if I become the president, all those foreigners bearing Jewish or Arab surnames, I'll sack them. Those foreigners want to make us slaves to the Jews and Arab. All right. That's Taiwo's opinion.
Would that solve the question?
All right. Olusegun tweeted this. Maybe that was in the past, that the CAN was not a political group. These days, the group has been lobbying with the politicians for many things. Oluwaseyi Emmanuel tweeted this. As regards endorsement of CAN for Christians, will automatically apply to Muslim because we will have both religion as running mate. We still have prophets that know God's mind for the nation, but then they should be very careful for the kind of nation we have. Oluwasegun tweeted that. Olusegun once again, of course, leadership error problems comes from humans, plus those that are meant to correct but choose to ignore or look elsewhere. Today, you can imagine when a reverend bishop likened Governor Wike to Jesus during a Thanksgiving service after winning at the Supreme Court. Uh, did the religious leaders teach or tell those who come for their blessings this? Instead, they have kept on deceiving them. But do the religious leaders understand this anytime they come for August service in their church? Okay. Do we still have the same in the era now? Religious leaders nowadays fail to tell the truth to the political leaders for the sake, okay? And the concluding part of your tweet is yet to trickle in. Olusegun. Your reaction, Reverend Banwo?
Well, all boils down to one thing: the fear of God. We appreciate all the input, the contribution of all that have been hearing us, but the truth is, God remains God. And whenever you see things are not working, or wherever you see things not working, it can never be with God but with man. I have discovered that many leaders, many of our past leaders, present, even the present leaders, many, like I said at the beginning, many you see bearing Daniel, Titus, Matthew, not all of them are believers. Many are just nominal, maybe by birth, maybe by how many times do they attend church? How many seminars in the church? How many conferences in the church? How many teaching sessions in the church have they attended? How much of the biblical, simple, basic biblical doctrines do they know? And these are those things that we mirror on their, on their personality and their behavior in governance. But clearly, let me say that the Bible never opposes believers aspiring to leadership positions or political offices. No. In Proverbs 29 verse 2, the Bible says, when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. That gives credence to that's a proof that God really wants his own to be in government, to be involved. Say, but when is the opposite? When the wicked, the godless are in power, the people groan, the people mourn. So if we are not there, what's the chance of change? Now I believe that what Nigeria is going through now calls for the understanding of everyone. Religious leaders should be mature in sharing the heart of God with them anytime any of the aspirants come before them, and not be sentimental or be ruled by whatever gift. There are times to receive gifts and there are times to resist gifts. Gifts that will blind your ability to say and stand by the truth should be resisted, no matter how interesting, how attractive. After the healing of Naaman, the kings, the man offered great, wonderful gifts to Prophet Elisha. But he said no. He rejected it. For what reason? We never knew, but he probably must have had some caution from God. This is not a time to receive gift. And the servant that on his own went to receive the gift behind the door got leprosy. The God of that time is still the God of today. But the truth is, most of these people, most of these Christians, most of these Muslims you see in government, in political offices, how many of them got the consent of their pastor, their churches before they got there? They only got there probably to just show off that they have the money now. They come forward for Thanksgiving, they come forward for this and that. Because their leader was never involved or part of the aspiration when they were aspiring this or didn't offer much support, or they didn't really see it as being responsible to to that the leadership of that church. But now what we are trying to do is for the church, all the Islamic body also to take responsibility, accept responsibility to encourage our members to go. Let them know we will support them. But when they get there, invariably, they are likely to be more responsible to us, knowing that we are part of their getting there. We can say, no, this is not part of what we taught you about leadership. Where have you thrown the fear of God? Where? And when they are doing right, we praise them. When they are not doing well, we should be frank. We should take a stand to condemn them, and not just sentimentally watch them and say, well, it's just human. It's just human. God will help us.
All right, let's take 2 calls. For those who are saying God never intended to, it was a pressure from men that let man rule man. But again, like I've just said, the prophets were the only ministers. They were the advisor. They never left, because that's what we are looking at now. They never let those kings alone for one bit. They were the tormentors. They were the right activists, so to say, in those days of the kings. They were the opposition leaders in those days. So if you look at that using the Bible now, which means the present day prophets have left their assignment undone.
Well, I won't say that's quite true, though in some instances we might have pockets of abuses here and there. But the truth is, people are trying to mix up leadership and plain leadership and involvement, and politics. Right from the beginning, God has set in place the path of leadership and followership. It has always been like that right from the Bible. We had people like Moses was a leader. Now, leadership generally talks about people, leading people. So anyhow it comes to be today, leadership remains leadership. People should not confuse leadership with whatever challenges we are facing in politics.
Every leader in the Bible has a distinct character, quality.
So what we are going through now, what we are going through in Nigeria, is leadership decadence for lack of genuine foundation in the faith that our leaders profess.
Okay, let's wrap up with these messages. Nigeria is made up of very religious but highly ungodly people. Religious leaders can impact positively on Nigerians if only they lead by example and are less materialistic, not preaching one thing and doing otherwise. Also, leaders at all levels need to be self-disciplined. Alhaji Badru sent in that one. Good morning to you all in the studio. The duty and responsibilities of real spiritual leaders are not to nominate any candidate for any political issue, but our own is to pray for the success of the elect. In the case of Nigeria, the Bible have said it all, that my people are perishing because they lack wisdom. And also it said, inasmuch as they have rejected light and wisdom, the Lord leave them in their reprobate state. But these people have totally given themselves to depravity, forgetting that they do not assume the office without the knowledge of God. Ayokole from Ibishi sent in that. Please, sir, what can you say about the lodge in the Anglican churches? Well, pious from Shanja, that is not the topic for discussion. I came from Ifo says no true Christian would like to lead this country. Asking a true Christian to come and lead a country like Nigeria is just like asking that person to forget who he is and fall into temptation so that they can join the things of this world. Only Christian criminal will agree to lead this nation.
Can you react to that?
Okay, let me add this tweet. This tweet is from Professor Bola AAA. Who are the so-called religious leaders? Is it those who are ordaining and turbaning drug barons and political robbers? We have none. All the moral values in me today were inculcated in my Anglican primary school in the 60s. Where are those teachers again? I am sorry. What we should have is a gag on political preaching, really. Any pastor imam should only talk in personal capacity. That's Yemi Da Vinci tweeting that one. Your reaction?
No true leader will want to lead this country.
No
That's
Christian.
no true Christian leader. That's the truth.
Somebody said one of the greatest way you allow braggarts to continue in government, or one of the best way or the worst way you allow unrighteousness to continue in governance, is when the righteous fold their hands. And I quite support that. If the righteous fail to be involved, what is then the hope? The braggarts will continue to have their way. I support the idea of people asking that the church will accept responsibility to devote more time on teaching the biblical values that have produced great leaders like Moses, even in today's churches. Some said the emphasis has been more on prosperity, and I don't believe so. It might seem so, but churches don't preach prosperity without the values or the virtues that make prosperity possible. Fear of God, adequate knowledge of the scripture, things like that. The problem with our leaders when they get to office is they don't feel responsible. They don't feel responsible or accountable to their pastors, because their pastor in the first instance was not part of their making. I mean, the factors that made them. Now they are trying to encourage churches, teach them, support them,
before
tell
we
them
go,
what to expect.
we just have 1 minute before we go. Is it right for religious leader to endorse or nominate our political leader or any political leader?
Any individual religious leader that endorses any aspirant does it on his own.
Even on his own as a recognized religious leader. I am the head of my church or the head of my mosque.
He should understand the value he has placed in his own calling. It's not, for me, it's not likely for me to say I endorse this fellow. Because in the church we have, our members belong to different political parties. Mine is to teach them the value, the virtues, basic biblical doctrines on leadership. Biblical leadership. With the fear of God, righteousness, fear of God, sound attachment to the tenets of the faith. No greediness, no wickedness, and things like that.
All right, yes, this is the convenient place for us to stop it this morning. I'm sure you have enjoyed it. For those who followed us, we have with us, we'll be talking with Reverend Olubunmi Banwo. He is the Secretary General, Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, PFN, Ogun State chapter, and we looked at the question of whether political religious leaders, what must they do in the emergence of our political leaders. I thank all of you for being there. Dele, Ayodo is my name. I say God bless you all. God bless Nigeria, and God bless Rock City.
Thank you very much, Reverend Banwo, for honoring your invitation.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
God bless you. I am Tobi Johnson. Have a wonderful day.